My favorite time of the week, every Wednesday, it's Football Pod in America, and today, there's just three of us. No Mike Tirico, no Liam McHugh. I don't know whether or not they have cramps. That's not my department to try to figure out, but it is Coach Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison, and we're going to take you through some of the stories in the NFL. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you today?
Doing well.
Cramps seem to be a good excuse for missing, yeah.
Well, speaking of what ended up being the game of the year, due in part to Lamar Jackson overcoming his bout with cramps, as we move forward after that 47-42 victory by Baltimore that kept their playoff hopes alive, who do you guys feel better about between those two teams? Coach, I'll start with you. Baltimore or Cleveland, who do you feel better about?
I think I might feel a little bit better about Cleveland. Baltimore, they had some injuries. Maybe they get some of their guys back. That'll help their defense. Both sides, I'm worried about the defense. When you give up 40-plus points, that never makes me feel good. But I saw Cleveland come back, bounce back. Lamar Jackson's obviously special, but I think Cleveland might be in better shape down the road.
Coach, I agree with you, and I think Kevin Stefanski, he's done a wonderful job working with Baker Mayfield, and we saw that, the Baker Mayfield that we were waiting on to come out there and compete, lead his team, and I just thought he was absolutely terrific. So I give a lot of props to Kevin Stefanski really getting that confidence back in Baker Mayfield, Mike.
They have proven over the last couple of games, the Browns have, that they can compete with the best teams around. Even though the Ravens have been struggling, they were desperate. And to give the Ravens that kind of a game on a night when the Ravens were essentially playing an early playoff game was impressive. You couple that with the win over the Tennessee Titans, and I think the Cleveland Browns are moving in the right direction. And I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of the Browns and the Ravens in the postseason. We also may get, guys, a rematch of the Ravens and the Steelers in the postseason. I don't know how I'd feel about this one if there's a round three, because I don't know how to feel about the Steelers right now. Coach, are they in trouble after losing two in a row?
I'm with you on that, Mike. I don't like where the Steelers are right now because I think they've lost their identity. For years and years and years, hey, we're going to be physical, we're going to be tough on defense, we're going to pound the football and make big plays in the passing game. The big plays have kind of vanished, and there's no running game. So when I see a Steeler team that's running 12 times, 14 times, they're running for under 40 yards a game, I don't think that's a winning formula in Pittsburgh in January.
And you look on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, and you saw all those injuries, and it was evident that they're missing their guys. And if they can't create pressure, if they can't create turnovers, we already know they can't run the ball, or at least they don't even attempt to run the ball. It's all Big Ben. So if Big Ben, if he's not almost perfect, then they're going to struggle. And they got some young guys dealing with some confidence issues. Mike Tomlin has to get back to being physical, his personality, running the football, and getting these guys back on track.
And you're right. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, defensively, when you take out your three top middle linebackers because of injury, or Vince Williams was gone because of COVID, but then Bud Dupree, your second best pass rusher, your best corner in Joe Hayden, it's tough to overcome all that. Now, they'll get Hayden back. Hopefully, they'll get Spillane back. But they've had a lot of losses on that defense.
And when you look at their schedule over the past few weeks, they were supposed to play on Thanksgiving. It got postponed 3 times before they ultimately played it. They had 3 games in 12 days. They haven't had a normal week. And Randy Fichtner, the offensive coordinator, suggested when they have the benefit of a normal week, maybe there'll be something on the offense better than what we've seen. But, Coach, I don't understand what's going on. Running game has been such a central part of the Pittsburgh offense for all these years. I don't know whether or not they're deliberately getting away from it. Is it happening during the game? Is the quarterback audibling out of run plays? This is something that at some point you think the head coach has to come in and like Mo and the Three Stooges, clunk some heads together and get this all figured out.
I thought we would really see it in our game Sunday night. Marquise Pouncey, their all-pro center, was back. James Conner was back. Buffalo, their Achilles heel is run defense. If there was ever a time to be set up to run the football, it was Sunday night, and we didn't see it. We saw the continuation of the short passing game, ton of passes, very little running, and again, that is just not the formula to win in Pittsburgh in playoff weather and playoff time.
Coach, you just hit it. It was coming out my mouth. You talk about the weather, and we saw how Pittsburgh, when the weather was, the wind and the snow and all those different things, it started to really affect Big Ben. So, the weather's going to continue to change, especially in Pittsburgh when they go on a road. Once they go on a road and have to go, whether they go to Kansas City or wherever they have to go, they're going to have to deal with the weather. So, yeah, that's a big problem for them. They're going to have to make sure they can run the football.
One of the big issues for the Steelers offense has been receivers dropping passes. And I love the perspective you guys bring to this because we have a coach, we have a former player. So here's my question. When you have this issue with receivers who, despite these gloves that are so great, supposedly you never drop a pass, they're dropping pass after pass after pass. Coach, what do you do to handle that problem in your locker room? And Rodney, when you're a defensive back and there's a receiver who's got an issue dropping the football, how do you deal with him? Coach, what do you say?
Yeah. Well, you really have to get it going. And Eric Ebron, he's had trouble with drops his entire career in the NFL. He had trouble with drops in Detroit and in Kansas City. Deontay Johnson, it's something that's happening this year. These guys are trying to run with it before they catch it. They've got good hands. Some guys are going to drop the ball because they don't have good hands. But Johnson has good hands. So it's a concentration thing. You just have to work on it, and you just have to say that drops are not acceptable. We're not going to play you if you drop the ball.
Coach, you've heard of alligator arms, and that's what I see. These guys are coming across the middle. They want no part of coming across that middle and catching the ball, especially a little guy like Deontay Johnson. But, Mike, if I see a guy like him, I'm walking up past him, during pregame warm-ups and saying, you come across that middle, I'm going to knock your head off. I'm talking trash to him. Hey, remember about the drops. I'm busting his chops. Every chance I get to remind him, I'm reminding him, hey, what's up, Butterfingers? Hey, you got any oil on those gloves? I'm talking snack. I've done it for you.
Well, I talked to Leslie Frazier, the Bills defensive coordinator, before the game, and he said that's all they worked on. It's all short passing. We're going to make the tackles. We got to come up and be physical. And I'm sure they were saying the same thing. Hey, we're on you guys, and we know you're going to catch these 5-yard routes, and we're going to blast you. And I think you're right, Rodney. That may be what happened.
And that's one of the points Chris Sims has been making on the morning show. He says the Steelers has become predictable in their predictableness, which I'm still not sure is an actual word, but we've been using it because when you know that the passing game is going to be 4 and 5 yards, the defensive backs can get a head of steam, and you're going to get that hit as you try to run with the ball, and it may cause you to have that just enough of a lapse of concentration, Coach, that the ball comes out of your hands, and that's that.
And let me say this, Coach, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Coach, real quick. And, it's funny because when we played you guys and you guys had all those weapons, we felt like if we played man-to-man coverage, if we jammed you, if we were physical with you guys, we could get you in a situation where the weather could be a factor, where then we could take away a lot of the short intermediate routes and then try to force you guys to throw the ball down the field. So I think you're spot on with that, Mike.
Yeah.
The Steelers lost, of course, to the Buffalo Bills, which is nothing to be ashamed of. The Bills have been playing so well lately. They're probably in a position where they could beat almost anyone. Rodney, since you have so many fans now in Buffalo, I'll start with you on this. Do you believe the Bills are for real?
Yeah, trust me. Coach, how many weeks in a row did I talk positive about the Buffalo Bills? I talked about Leslie Frazier. I talked about their secondary. Heck, even earlier in the year, I talked about Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde being, one of the best safety tandems in the National Football League. But all of a sudden, everybody jumps on the Bills bandwagon. I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they're killing me, Bills Mafia. But all I can say is this, Coach. I just look at my 2 Super Bowl rings, and I'm just wondering, when will the Buffalo Bills catch up with as many rings as I got? I just don't know when they're going to catch up.
Well, I'm not going to answer that one, but I was the one that was a little hesitant because early in the year it seemed like when Buffalo had a chance, when they could prove it to me, they came up a little short. Tennessee didn't have a practice week and beat them. And the Rams, it was a screwy 4th down pass interference that kind of let them off the hook in that game. But lately, they've been meeting the challenges. They've been meeting the tests, and I'm starting to believe in the Bills.
They started off 4-0, and everyone was feeling good about them, including themselves. They got hit in the mouth by the Titans, followed up by the Chiefs, and I think they got knocked wobbly, and they started to wonder, where are we here? Now that we get in December, and they have 3 games in prime time. They have that other game that's going to be Saturday afternoon on NFL Network, so it's a national platform. People get to see what they can do, and I feel like they're rising to that moment. And, Coach, isn't this the time of year where you want a team to rise up and show what it can do as you're getting closer and closer to the playoffs?
You want to be at your best in December, and I think they are. They are peaking, but I still go back to that Tennessee game, that Kansas City game, where, boy, it just didn't look like they could compete with those teams. The Rams, they played well, but, they won that one kind of in a fluky way. Arizona, they played well and lost in a fluky way. So I think they're a very good team. I'm not quite sure if they're there yet to be put with the Kansas City, Green Bay, New Orleans just quite yet.
I think Buffalo's a really good team. The thing that really, and I like what Leslie Frazier has done, made his team a defense a lot more aggressive. And since he's allowed them to be aggressive, they're making plays. They're playing with confidence. And even if they give up a couple plays, they never panic. And their inability to consistently run the football, I think they have solid backs. There's nothing really great about their running back position. I think that's going to be something where in the playoffs, if they can't consistently run the football now, everything goes back to Josh Allen. He feels like he has to do everything. And a lot of times if Stephon Diggs, if he's double covered, he's still giving them opportunity. So I like Buffalo. Buffalo's a tough team. Josh Allen is the real deal. He's that dude. But, they still have some issues that I'm concerned about.
And the reality in the AFC, the Chiefs are clearly the dominant team, and everyone else is just trying to keep up and maybe prove that they could upset the Chiefs in the postseason. In the NFC, we never know what's going on. 1 week it's this team, 1 week it's that team, then it's this team. Where are we right now, Coach, from your perspective? Who rank the top 3 teams in the NFC right now?
I really am leaning towards the Rams because I think they're playing the best defense. I like their defense, their aggressiveness. They can run the football. Rodney will point out to me, I'm sure, that they're going to get inconsistent quarterback play from Jared Goff. When he's hot, they can beat anybody. When he's off, obviously they struggle, but they can run the ball and play defense. Green Bay can score. They can run the ball. They can throw it. Their defense is up and down to me. New Orleans, I thought, was the most balanced team. But I see some cracks in their defense, and they play. Sometimes they don't concentrate. In that Philadelphia game, they gave up a lot of yardage that shouldn't have happened. Right, we were going to break down a play, and we didn't have time on Sunday night where linebacker just goes the wrong way. All he's got to do is slide to his gap, and it's a no-gain play. He goes in the back door, tries to make a big play in the backfield, and it's a 75-yard touchdown pass. I see that a little too much from the New Orleans defense.
Guys, I look at it this way, and with everything that's happened with COVID and one team having a home field advantage and everybody else has to play, I look at Green Bay. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is giving up that home field advantage. There's no way that number 1 seed at his age and how valuable to be able to rest, and not only just rest for that week, but to be able to have teams come in and have to play in Lambeau Field. You think the Saints want to come out from the dome and play in that cold weather? You think the Rams want to come and play in 20 or 10-degree weather? They don't. So to me, I understand, the Rams are probably a more complete team. If Jared Goff is hot, that's fine. Drew Brees is going to come back. Taysom Hill is actually playing well enough, and it wasn't about Taysom Hill, but he's playing well enough. They could have won that game. It was more so the defense. But, yeah, I just don't think anybody's going to beat the Packers for that number 1 seed. It's too valuable, Mike.
The thing about when we get to the postseason, though, we've seen this with the Packers. We've seen it with the Saints. They're prone to lapses. When you expect them to show up and play well, they just pick a day where, for whatever reason, they're not ready to go. And when we think about all the things we've learned over the years about January football, championship football, what do you hear? You hear defense and running game, defense and running game. And the Rams have the defense and the running game. And it may be like the 49ers last year where they turned their quarterback into Bob Greasy and minimize him and just ride, coach, the defense and the running game. And as Cam Akers has developed into their new workhorse, they're less prone to having that lapse where you see one of those games like what happened to them today if they're relying on Aaron Donald and company and Cam Akers as the centerpiece of their offense.
No, I agree. That defense is legit. They will not go into any game feeling like they have to score 30 points to win. And that's a good feeling. They can win low-scoring games. I just like the way they're playing. I think they're pretty complete.
And, you know, just looking at the Rams defense, too, we always talk about Aaron Donald, but it's not just Aaron Donald. I've been screaming that the last few weeks or last month. It's not just Aaron Donald making plays. Brockers and those guys, Leonard Floyd, they're getting after the quarterback. They're making plays. Jordan Fuller's making plays on the back end. So I think this is a collective group, and you're right, Coach. They're playing extremely well. But, you know, I still have my reservations when it comes to Jared Goff. And if they want to go to the Super Bowl, it's not going to be just playing good defense and running the football. He's going to have to throw for 300+. He's going to have to make sure, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's going to have really good games for them to advance.
Yeah.
Somebody from the NFC East is still going to make it to the playoffs and host a playoff game. And the good news is the NFC East teams have quietly gotten better, and we actually may see a team at 500, who knows, by the time we get through Week 17. But right now, who do we think is going to win that division? And I get the feeling that so much of that is going to be driven by who gets the best quarterback play. Coach, who do you think it's going to be?
It really is. And I think Washington right now, I think even Dwayne Haskins, if he goes in the way they're playing now, he doesn't have to do it all. He doesn't have to be great. He just has to be okay. Daniel Jones is not healthy. And when he's not healthy, that takes away a lot of what he does best. So I think the Giants had a good formula going, but they're struggling right now. We'll see them Sunday night and see if Jones is a little bit better. Philadelphia got very good quarterback play last week, and they look like a different team. But I think Washington, with their defense, their ability to run the ball, and whether it's Alex Smith or Haskins playing good football, I think they're the team to beat.
See, Coach, I don't believe that you can interchange these two quarterbacks. I just think that Alex Smith is he's on a different level mentally. The way the knowledge of the offense and the trust level, when you put him back there, when you have Haskins back there, eventually he's going to have to make a play. He's going to have to step up and make plays. It's not like their offense is that good where he doesn't have to do anything. So, yeah, the defense is really good. The front four, they creating turnovers and they're doing things like that. But what happens if they're not able to create a turnover is Haskins. I don't believe in Haskins. I just flat out don't. So if Alex Smith, if he's able to play, I trust him. I believe he's going to take care of the football. I believe that each week that he plays, he's building confidence with his injury and everything that's going on. But with Haskins, he scares the living crap out of me.
And Alex Smith has so much experience. He's played in big games. He knows what it means. He knows what the stakes are. And he's just so happy to be back after going through one of the worst injuries we've ever seen. I continue to be fascinated, though, by what the Eagles have done with Jalen Hurts, because it was just a week ago that longtime center Jason Kelce came out and essentially said it doesn't matter because it's been a failure of the entire offense. Players, coaches, everyone. So I'm thinking, well, all we're going to find out is it's not the quarterback's fault because Jalen Hurts isn't going to be any better than Carson Wentz. And then he ends up being tremendous. And as I look at Week 17, all due respect to the Giants, the Eagles and Washington play, and I hope that it comes down to that game to determine the playoff spot, because that would be, even though the winner of the division may be sub 500, that would be a great game, Coach, to determine who gets that home playoff game. And I'm not going to rule out the winner of that game automatically losing. I'm not going to assume they're automatically going to lose the next week in the wild card round.
I agree with you. We saw what Philadelphia with a rejuvenated offense did against New Orleans, who was supposed to be the best team in the NFC. And I'll say this, Doug Peterson called a different game Sunday with Jalen Hurts in there. And we saw that during their Super Bowl run. Carson Wentz was playing very good football. But when Nick Foles went in, Doug Peterson tailored that offense to Nick Foles. They got the RPO game and the things that Foles did really, really well, and they went all the way to the Super Bowl. It seemed like this year for Wentz, they were just dialing up plays and letting him make things happen. But for their rookie quarterback, for Hurts, they structured some things. We had some zone reads, some read options, some design quarterback sweeps, some rollout passes where he was just looking at one receiver and throwing the ball or taking off running. And they did what he did best. And I think if he continues to do that, that offense will move.
And the thing that stood out to me is when Miles Sanders came out and he talked about leadership. I mean, this is Jalen Hurts' first start, and he talked about the leadership. So it had to be such a great, it had to be so big in that huddle as far as his leadership for him to come out and say that. And as long as Carson Wentz has been playing, guys, have you ever heard of anybody come out and talk about Carson Wentz's leadership? I didn't hear that. And it's so hard as a young quarterback to gain the trust and the faith of your teammates and the confidence of your teammates. So I just think that Jalen Hurts moving forward, and it's going to be somewhat up and down because he's still learning the system and they still have the same weapons that they have. But clearly when he's the quarterback, he's decisive, he's not intimidated, the moment's not too big, and he is an athlete. He is a big athlete and he's not afraid, and he sees the entire field. It's just a completely different feel. I know the Eagles, they're sitting up there in their little fancy offices up top, and they're trying to figure out, like, what the heck are we going to do because we blew it? Because Jalen Hurts is going to be a lot better quarterback than Carson Wentz. I think we can all see that.
Now, speaking of the Eagles and the team they beat last week, the Saints, that put them in position where it's going to be harder to get the number 1 seed. And their next challenge is the Kansas City Chiefs coming to the Dome this weekend. Drew Brees likely won't be playing. It'll be Taysom Hill again with Patrick Mahomes and company. And look, even though the Saints are among the best teams the NFC has to offer, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Coach, do we think that the Saints can get this victory, or is this a situation where Patrick Mahomes and all the weapons he has at his disposal once again do whatever it takes, like we've seen them do week in and week out, to get the win?
Well, the interesting thing for me is going to be Taysom Hill, and we praised Taysom Hill, and he really has done a good job. But you have to remember, a lot of those games, they're playing, and they're playing ahead. If we get 17 points, our defense is playing lights out. That's all we need. This is a game where if their defense plays well, they might give up 27 points. So this is a game where that offense is going to have to put up some points. There's going to be pressure to score. And I want to see how the whole offense and Taysom Hill respond in that situation.
Yeah, I'm looking at Saints defense coordinator Dennis Allen. He did not have his team ready, his defense ready to play against Jalen Hurts. And he's going to have to deal with all these weapons. He's going to have to deal with, Mahomes running around, making all these incredible throws. So I'm really looking forward to some individual matchup, like who matches up with Travis Kelce. Do you get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? Is it Malcolm Jenkins? I just don't know if they have enough in the secondary. So I'm looking at those guys up front, Davenport, Sheldon Rankins, they have to get after the quarterback and cause pressure to Patrick Mahomes if they're going to win this game.
And it's not easy to do with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. It's not like you can double both guys, and they're both having huge seasons. And, Coach, like you said, what it comes down to is they're going to score their points. You have to find a way to score more. And with Taysom Hill, that's going to mean throwing the ball more. And we've seen him develop as a passer. We know that he can run the ball. They've got plenty of weapons. This is going to challenge Sean Payton to be as creative as he's ever been. And he came out after that loss to the Eagles, and he said, this is on me. I didn't have my guys ready to play. You rarely see Sean Payton not have his guys ready to play in consecutive weeks, Coach.
No, they'll be ready to play. Obviously, for the Chiefs, they've had that game circled for a long time. But the Chiefs have lost one game in almost a little over a year. And that was a game where the Raiders scored 40 points. So that, to me, is what's going to have to happen. Sean's going to have to get his creative hat going, come up with some things, move the football, and have a 30 to 35-point game in order to win.
Hey, Coach, the one thing that he has to do, he has to stay patient with the run game. I think Alvin Kamara had 11 touches in the run game, and that's just not enough. You got to be able to run the football and don't get in this situation where you're trying, it's a personal, pride thing where you're trying to just do something that you normally don't do on offense. Run the football, use Alvin Kamara, hit him in the flat, and force these guys to tackle in the open field. Then you can negate the pass rush and all these guys, all these different exotic blitzes that Kansas City does.
But what happened, Philadelphia got ahead in that game. Philadelphia got ahead, and I think that's when Sean kind of triggers, hey, we got to score, we got to catch up, we got to throw. And I could see that happening. If Kansas City has a couple drives and they score, I could see the Saints just going pass. And you're right, that's not the way to play Kansas City.
Yeah.
That game's coming up late afternoon, and we've got the evening game. See you later, Dallas Cowboys. You've been flexed out. Browns and Giants flexed in. I can't wait to watch the Browns again after Monday night. I'll put the Browns in primetime every week the way they've been playing. Guys, it's been fun as always, and thanks to everyone out there for some of your time today. We'll see you next time on PFTPM and Football Pod in America.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.